Welcome, everybody. Thank you guys for joining us. Today is the Elevate Masterclass information session for these fall and winter session 2022. I just want to welcome everybody for participating and joining us for today's session. For what we've done here with Elevate Masterclass, and we'll be talking a little bit about the pandemic and some things that have happened. And there's been pros and cons that have kind of occurred during this whole pandemic. And one of the pros that has been for me is Savvy Investor. And I want to thank you guys for all participating and being part of our group. I really am thankful for all you guys being associated with it. And it's been a great community of support from others. But at the same time, I've also had a lot of individuals asking for support and guidance in regards to coaching and training and learning. And they were kind of feeling like there's a kind of a loss of or confusion of what type of program I should be taking, especially for individuals that are just getting started or individuals that are trying to scale their business. And so I've been teaching for years, and pre-pandemic, it was always a live training program. So when the pandemic actually hit, we started to decide to make this kind of more of a virtual platform. And so for the last year and a half, we have been teaching, and we've launched it as under the Savvy Investor banner called Elevate Masterclass. And so we're going to be talking about three key programs that we launched, that we have a lot of knowledge in. And the reality is it's taking kind of 20 years worth of real estate investing experience and sharing it with individuals so they don't make the same mistakes that I've done over the past, and making sure you're learning the right steps and the right things to making sure you can push forward. Okay. So that's what we're going to be talking a little bit about today. But what I kind of want to maybe just start off as part of the discussion is just talking a little bit about kind of the current reality. And this may be resonating well for a lot of you, even in today's session today, is that we are kind of living in a world of kind of craziness in some cases. Anybody disagree, agree? I don't know how anybody else feels about it, but it's been interesting to say it lightly. There's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of question marks, lots of negativity that's actually happening out there. And it's impacting kind of lives all over the place, be it individuals that are extremely youth, people that are seniors, and everything kind of in between. And with all this negativity and all of this uncertainty, and there's lots of question marks, and even for myself, one of the biggest things that I see is right or wrong, the debt load that is happening within our own country is a little nerve-wracking to me, and I talk a lot about this with my kids as well. And with that being said, it's becoming instrumental that we really got to take care of ourselves. We really got to look at this as an eye-opening experience for all of us. And when we see what's kind of transpired over the last year and a half, I think it's opened a lot of eyes for a lot of different people, especially when you're looking at kind of what we saw with unemployment rates shortly right after that. Anybody recognize this? Like, this is some of the trends that we've had since the 80s, and this is what happens. And even though we've seen a little bit of a boom to kind of come back, the concern that I've got is that we're seeing situations where you saw a lot of government intervention that was happening with CERB and other different programs that are kind of continuing to stabilize the economy. But with the debt load that's actually happening there, it puts a lot more uncertainty. But the biggest piece that I highlight, and again, this could be you guys that are on the call today, is it's kind of really opened a lot of eyes to the insecurity that our jobs, our individual job may have. We may have one job, and if all of a sudden we lose that job, we're in big trouble. Anybody agree with that? Disagree with that? But the reality is, this is kind of the current reality. And there's a lot of people that said, and I'm hearing a lot of this, people that have been in their jobs for 20 or 30 years, thinking that they're within a stable company, and they're just like, you know what, they're going to ride this whole thing out and everything's going to be fine. But the reality is, it's opened the situation where it's just like, you know what, if I ever lost that job, I'm in kind of deep doo-doo, if you understand what I'm saying. And so with that, people have lost their jobs. People have scaled back in so many different ways in regards to their expenses and other things. And there's a lot of mental health that's actually happening there as well, due to a lot of this whole income strain that's actually in the community. Part of the other concern that I believe we're going to be seeing in the next 3 to 4 to 6 months is some of this unraveling of some of that government support. Okay, we had CERB kind of coming in, now EI, and now that's starting to slowly unravel. So we'll have a little bit of a better picture of what's going to be transpiring here in the next 5 to 6 months. And so for that, it could be quite interesting. And really what I'm trying to highlight for everybody is you can look at this situation, and this may even be some of you today, is you're like, wow, this is me in some cases, and I'm really concerned about what this. And for a lot of people, they can go down this journey and can go, well, go down the rabbit hole, really look at all the negativity that's out there. And there's tons of it, right? I'm sure you guys are all seeing it as well. It's all over social media. It's all over the news. It's just like negative, negative, negative. And it's just extremely depressing, and job losses and high debt and all of these types of things. And you can go down that rabbit hole, but really at the end of the day, it's not really going to provide you with any benefit. For the individuals that are really more open-minded and really need to change that type of mindset, you can ask yourself, is this truly a crisis, or is this actually a potential opportunity? Okay. Just by a show of hands, who thinks this current pandemic is an opportunity? Mandy's already jumping the gun. 2 hands up. That's right. Opportunity, right? And if you go in with that type of mindset and you start to look not at all of the stuff the media is pitching at us and sharing with us, and ask yourself, what's the opportunity in this scenario? What can be achieved? What can be achieved here? What are some of those opportunities that are there? So I asked you guys, go back to 2008. Everybody remember 2008, what happened down in the States and even in Canada? If I wanted to ask you guys, would you be, if you know what you know today, would you have done something a little bit different, knowing that the results of that? What would you guys have done? Open mics, you guys can have a chat. What would you guys done?
More real estate.
Where would you buy, Ryan?
Locally here in the valley here.
Yeah. Anybody else? Anything else they would do?
I would have done the exact same, bought everything I possibly could here locally.
Correct. Okay. Anybody else? But the truth of the matter is you can go down this road and you can go down the negative road. And I'm sure many of you have seen or talked to individuals that are in this funk. Anybody have people that are in this kind of negative funk right now? You can go down this road and say, yes, you know what, I am in this funk. Or you can go back and pretend you're Warren Buffett. And here's an individual. And for those that don't know who Warren Buffett is, one of the most successful investors in the world. Even though he's mostly focused in stocks, he has a very large real estate portfolio. Many of you may have heard this saying before, but the saying is famous as being fearful when others are greedy and being greedy when others are fearful. So in this environment, when people are extremely fearful, can be some of the best opportunities that have ever come across. So as we were kind of talking about 2008, even for myself, been doing this for a long time, most of my success actually came shortly after 2008, 2009. And so, Jeremy and Ryan, buy as much as you can. That's exactly what I did. I loaded up as much as I can, and people thought I was absolutely stupid and paid huge dividends. These times, these opportunities, these crises that tend to happen, if we can just change the way we think sometimes and not necessarily follow what everybody else is doing or their mindsets and look at what the opportunities are, they can pay huge dividends for yourself. And that's really kind of part of the discussion for today. Is the first thing that we as individuals need to look at is ask ourselves, what are we trying to accomplish? What are some of the problems that we have? And more importantly, are we much more open-minded to change our mindset? And I've posted this on Savvy in the past. And it's very easy to go down this road for, the majority of 98% of the population. And trust me, even myself, I get in this funk sometimes too, is getting stuck in a comfort zone. Have you ever caught yourself as I'll do that tomorrow? I'll do that next week. You know what? I'm really tired. Maybe I'll do that next month. And we kind of get stuck here and we just do the same thing over and over and over and over again, getting stuck. But really where the opportunity is, and I'm sure you guys can agree, for those that have been doing this a while, the real opportunity is outside this, and it's outside your comfort zone. And this is where your growth needs to occur. You need to expand your horizons. You need to think differently. You need to do things differently and really kind of expand on this, because if you don't, this is where you are at. And I'm not joking. Majority, like here we are, we got a group of savvy investors locally here. We're all surrounded by discussions and communication, and we're a small, interesting network of investors that all have a very similar mindset as this. But I'm telling you, the majority of our friends and family, they're stuck here. I work for a job, I pay my bills, I take my kids to school, and I watch Netflix. That's what they do, okay? So the reality and what I'm trying to highlight is, if you want to be different, if you want change in your life, you need to change. You personally have to evolve. You need to expand your horizon in your knowledge, in your actions, and everything that you're doing, okay? And it doesn't really matter what career you're in. There's lots of excuses that we can all make. I'm busy, I'm a doctor, or whatever the case may be. It doesn't really matter. If you are really wanting to accomplish something different, if you want to create multiple streams of income, if you're trying to do things a little bit differently, the common theme I talk to my students with is about having a little bit more financial freedom. There's probably a lot of you that are looking for that as well, right? They're like, you know what, I'm working like crazy and I just need a little bit more time. That's why I invested many years ago, and I'll share more about that in a second. But the important part is, to do this and to expand your horizon, you're going to need to take some time to educate yourself first and foremost. It's just the reality of it. And, I challenge you guys, like, if you would never hire a doctor to provide open heart surgery without some form of education. Same thing as, bringing flying a 747. You hope they actually know how to land the plane and probably take off. That's probably really important that they actually learned that, right? The reference is, without that knowledge, without that education, you're really not going to be able to expand your horizon and really start to stretch your mindset. Okay. So the real question is, you can stay here. Okay. You really can stay here. But if you really, really want to change, you got to ask yourself, am I willing just to stay in the comfort zone? Or am I willing to take the risk and go out there? What are some of your goals? What are some of your dreams? How bad do you guys really, really want this? And that's the true question. The one problem that I tend to find when they're stuck in that kind of closed-minded approach and they're not wanting to grow, what do you think is holding them back? Open mic. What do you think is the biggest thing that's holding people back from changing? Anybody? What do you guys think? Failure? Fear? Anybody?
Fear, yeah.
Fear? What are they fearful of, or what do you think the fear is? What do you think the biggest fear is?
Finances.
Finances in what way, Ryan? Go ahead.
Afraid of the market, afraid of the real estate market, losing money on their home.
So technically, I think Carmel referenced it as well. Fear of failure, I guess. Does that sound about right, guys? And that's probably accurate, right? And that's actually the biggest reason why a lot of people don't do this, okay, is because they are scared to death about failing. Okay. Oh, sorry guys, I'm just going to, can I ask everybody just to mute themselves until I ask them? Don't mind, please. There we go. Okay. So the reality is that's the biggest thing. So real quickly, how can you get into a position where you can overcome some of that fear? Anybody want to kind of talk that one out? How do you overcome fear?
Education.
Education? Why is that?
Because what you don't know, I think hurts you, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct. Hermel, did you want to comment too?
Yeah, getting that fear of the unknown or not knowing, sometimes makes you a little more cautious, a little more fearful. So.
Yep, agree. And I think, there's some great comments that are just chiming in there, but the reality is practice, experience. But I think the biggest thing is just knowledge. And the important part is taking the time to kind of educate yourself or surround yourself with other individuals to really elevate your knowledge so you can overcome a lot of that particular fear. Okay. And sometimes it's just having dialogue and discussion. Sometimes it's just learning steps from individuals that have done exactly what you've done. And they're saying, Angela, you know what? Don't do this, because I've learned not to do that. So learn from my experiences. And that's really what it's about. The important part, guys, and sometimes the other thing that I tend to find is the reason why people don't do this is they're just don't know where to kind of begin, if that makes sense too. Is they see what people are doing on social media, and they see people buying 15, 20 properties a month. And they're like, wow, that's just such a big matzo ball. That's just so much. And the overwhelming feeling of trying to keep up with the Joneses. And I reference this a lot. Okay. The important part for everybody that's here, you really don't need to see the whole path. The important part is just taking that first and initial step, regardless if it's actually just you guys just getting started or you're looking to really scale your business. And so it's really, really important that, you know what, you don't need to know how to buy multifamily properties or doing real estate development. I just need to know what my next step is going to be, and just take those things slowly and intimately, right? So the important part is, if you really want it, don't let fear hold you back. There are so many ways that you can really expand your knowledge and your horizon. You've got a network of people to connect with. But one of the reasons why Elevate Masterclass was created is to really provide you an avenue where you can overcome your fears of whatever it is, raising capital, finding your first investment property, avoiding a lot of those risks that kind of come along with this. And so with Elevate Masterclass, this is the program that we've got. Okay. And I want to be very, very, very clear. You can kind of talk to people, and you've probably been through information sessions like this before, and it's kind of a hard sale approach to this. That's not the way I do it, to be very honest with you. I really want my students to be very serious if they want to take this course. These courses and these programs are extremely intense. They are a lot of work, and more importantly, you will learn an absolute ton of this, a ton. And really, it's based on 20 years of experience, hands-on, on all of these 3 different programs that we are offering through Savvy Investor. Okay, so the 3 that we talk about is residential real estate fundamentals, which is investing in real estate, residential real estate. Secondly is raising capital through joint venture partners. So for those that are needing to raise money, I don't know if anybody needs to raise money out there, but if you don't, you will be at some point in time needing to raise money. And then thirdly is multifamily investing. And it's one of our most popular programs, obviously, because a lot of people are trying to scale their business and grow and expand on this. But I want to be really clear, and I'll touch more about this as well. I only want to work with individuals that, I want to repeat or go back. I want to make sure that everybody understands that if you guys are interested in this, I want you to only focus on the stuff that's really important for you today. Okay. I don't need you to take all the programs if it doesn't make sense. So, and that's part of what we'll be discussing a little bit. Okay. So for a lot of you guys, and you guys have seen me on Savvy, you might have seen me on some podcasts and stuff, but a lot of people may not know who I am. And just like, who are you, Mike, to be sitting here talking and preaching all this kind of stuff. And, I don't know what you've done in the past, or I don't know anything about you. And so I'll just kind of share a little bit about myself real quickly. So I'm based in Langley, BC. I see a lot of local individuals here. It's always good to see our BC representation out here. I always love it, but I'm locally based here. And so for myself, like I'm referencing with a lot of you, it was actually a change of mindset for me when I started in real estate investing. I worked for a company called Saputo Dairyland. I'm not sure if people are familiar with that company. I was the director of sales for Western Canada for that company. And I made a crap load of money, lots of money there. And the one negative that I had was I was traveling roughly 3 weeks out of every month, like traveling away from my kids, young kids. And just horrible. It was just it was a horrible job. It really, really was not something that I really enjoyed. But what happened is my eyes opened when I, like probably a lot of you've maybe invested in RSPs and mutual funds and stocks like that. And then the returns, I'm looking at it in a document and I'm like, look, another 2%, that's great. But there was this one aha moment that I had, is literally when I had a statement for my financial broker, or for my broker. And then I pulled out our property assessment for the year for the property. It's literally out in the driveway, and I saw the value of my home going up drastically within a year. And I'm like, literally side by side out in the driveway, I'm like, I think I need to do more of this and a lot less of this. And that was kind of, for me, the aha moment. But here's the problem. When I got started, I started in 2001. You know, there's not all these groups and Facebook stuff, and there was just not a lot of information. And so for me, like everybody else, you know, you start to kind of go down the rabbit hole trying to figure this whole thing out. Robert Kiyosaki books, and, you know, connecting with a few people, but there just wasn't the platforms there. So somebody made a comment, Mandy, thank you for sharing that. It's just really learning by experience. And so I started investing in real estate, and I bought my first townhome. See that big brown piece of, you know what, that's at the very bottom corner there. It's kind of ugly as sin, but you know what, that's my first piece of real estate. I didn't know what I was doing. That property, when I bought it, I didn't understand cash flow or anything. And I was losing $40 a month cash flow out of that property. Okay. 40 bucks. Okay. And that $40 property, $40 negative property within a year turned to $600 a month cash flow positive. Okay. And that really, for me, really cemented a few things for me, because now I started to say, hey, listen, I may be able to turn this into kind of a small business and really try to look at growing and maybe looking at getting out of my JOB. And so shortly after, I founded the company, which is my company, Prosperity Real Estate Investments, back in 2006. And I got into full acquisition mode at that time and started buying properties quite aggressively. At one point, I was buying roughly 2 properties every single month, and it was insanity, right? But it was something that I really wanted to do. And I really just stayed focused on what the prize was at the end. And this was my prize. And it's become full-time real estate investor. But the prize was much more than just my job. The biggest thing that I wanted to understand, what I wanted, is freedom to spend more time with my kids, as I shared with you guys all before. I wanted to take my kids to school. I wanted to pick my kids up from school. And that is something that was really, really important to me. And I didn't want to be handcuffed in an office to do this. And I really had to work very, very, very hard. The other part that I also realized is, if you look at the date when I became a full-time real estate investor, anybody remember what happened the following year? Okay. You want to talk about learning experiences? That's really good learning experiences. Okay. Don't become a full-time real estate investor when you're having a global meltdown. Okay. So just a little bit of advice today. That one's free. Okay. But the reality is that was a big, big aha moment. Okay. So currently right now, holding and managing over $30 million worth of real estate investments. I am definitely focused on both multifamily and residential. I'm much more focused on multifamily, but don't get me wrong, I still own a very large portfolio in the residential world as well. Okay. Most of our acquisitions are done through joint venture partners. And so I've been doing this for quite some time. Okay. And so with that being said, this is a little bit about myself, and a lot of the stuff that I share is based on my experiences. I've been very, very blessed and very fortunate that some of the things that we've done over this time have received accolades. And again, I'm not here to kind of toot my own horn and stuff like that. These are all blessings that have come from my journey. And you know, being with the Real Estate Investment Network, lots of awards from RAIN and stuff, and being part of the Canadian Real Estate Wealth magazine as well, and won several different awards from that as well. And then just featured in one of Don Campbell's books as well with real estate joint venturing. But the reality is, a lot of this is because of lessons of being in the trenches. Okay, really, really is. And so I'm very thankful for this, but this is part of the journey, and this is part of who I am, and what has been a great accomplishments in my life. And trust me, a lot of the great lessons that have been learned, good and bad. Okay, so which comes back to the course again. And so these are the 3 programs that we have. And I want to be very, very clear. I'm here to share with you guys what is available, and I want to help support you in your guys' investment journey if it makes sense. There is no hard selling approach to this, period. And like I said, I am pretty serious that I want students that are extremely, extremely serious, that really want to scale their business and really want to get this and really want to learn. And if this is something that they want, I'm here to help and support you. So to kind of begin with, I'll share a little bit about the programs, the details associated with start dates and all that stuff and costs. And then I'll open up the platform for everybody for any questions that they have. Okay. So to begin with, for those that are just getting started, course is going to be starting out in November. And it's fundamentals to residential real estate investing. It's really kind of the real estate 101. And the way our courses are designed, which is a little bit different and done by design, is this course specifically runs for 8 weeks. Okay. And it's 3 hours a week. It is live training. Okay. So you'll have me and students within, and we talk about, building your investment plan. So for those that are just like, I think I want to invest in real estate, and my goal is, we have much more clarity to that. And so we try to have some identifying clear goals of what you're trying to accomplish by going into this world called real estate investing. Second week, we talked about bank etiquette, getting the banks to say yes to your deals. Finance has always been an interesting challenge to begin with. So it's always quite interesting. So we provide a lot of support in regards to how do we get your deals funded and how to present yourself as a much more sophisticated investor. Week 3, and actually this is, I think we've changed that a little bit, is to week 2. And this really is where the learning is in this course. Anybody have heard of the term due diligence? Anybody? Okay. And I'm talking about economic due diligence. A lot of people talk about it, but a lot of people really don't understand it. And this is actually the foundations of this program. I will challenge, so at the very beginning of the course, the day 1, I ask our students to pick one city, anywhere around the world. Doesn't matter where it is, okay? And the only caveat that I put is that they can't pick a city they currently invest in, okay? And they are going to do due diligence within the city, do market research, market analysis. They're going to actually get deals from realtors. They're going to be talking to property managers. They're going to be assessing deals within that market, okay? They're going to learn everything about that particular market. I don't care, again, anywhere in the world. And what's going to happen is at the very end of the course, all of the students will be sharing their investment town that they had chosen. They will present some of the fundamentals in the market that's being taught within this course. And more importantly, they will assess if it's a good market to invest in or not. And they'll be presenting that to everybody. And so what happens, you're going to have students talking about Edmonton, Moncton, Ottawa, all these things, and you're going to learn about all of these different markets. And it doesn't matter if it's a good city to invest in or not. That's not the premise. The premise is that you know how to assess if it's a good market or not. Because today, maybe it is Moncton. Maybe it is Edmonton, but then tomorrow, maybe it just doesn't make sense there anymore. So where's the next place to go? And so we teach you how to do due diligence in a market, okay? And we start it from a macro perspective. So we look at Canada or US or whatever, and then we start weaning it down to find the right market for you, okay? This is actually a lot of fun. People curse my name during this course because of all of this, but the exercise at the end, once they figure it out and it all comes together, is like, this is where all the learning is in the due diligence. Property analysis, how to do property analysis properly, how to read comparables and listing sheets. But the best part is negotiations. Me being Portuguese, I'm cheap by nature. That's just the way I am. And so I love negotiations. This is one of my strong skill sets. So I teach you guys a lot of really cool techniques of how to negotiate, especially when you're going into deals, and how to present yourself appropriately. Protecting yourself, due diligence when offers accepted, finding the right tenants for those that are self-managing, or even working with the property manager. And you're going to be learning a ton of tools in regards to ensuring that you understand costs and prices and everything that goes along with this. Managing your real estate business, and this is the big one. Believe it or not, anybody can buy a piece of real estate tomorrow. I could buy one right now. I just pick up the phone and say, I'm going to buy one. That's the easiest part. It's after the fact, how do you manage it? And so we talk a lot about, a lot of students a lot of individuals say, yeah, how's that property performing? What's the cash flow you're making in that property? They will remember what the analysis was done 2 years ago and say, yeah, I'm making $200 a month cash flow. But 2 years have passed. They've just maybe not as aware of what those numbers are. So we've spent a lot of time talking about having clarity to your numbers, having clarity to an exit strategy, and more importantly, you want to continue to grow cash flow if that's your objective. And so providing you tips on how to continue to expand on that and continue to grow. And then again, at the very end, this is actually kind of celebration time, is where everybody's presenting at the end and learning some different, you'll be learning some new different investment strategies as well. but really the learning is how to buy residential real estate properly and from A to Z. There is no residential real estate investing 2.2. It's, I give you everything here. There's all this, you get property analysis tools, you've got comparable documents, and actually I'll just turn it to the next page, but here's all the stuff that you get as part of it. Vendor motivated checklist, property analysis, how to interview your investment team, presenting offers to the sellers, rental applications forms, tenancy agreements, property management selection analysis tools, how to manage your business through P&Ls and stuff like that. So managing the business. So that's real estate investing fundamentals 101, which is going to be starting up soon. So for those that are just getting started and wanting to learn, it's a great program for that. For those that are looking to kind of start to scale their business, it does say 8, but it's actually a 10-week course. Okay. And this one, for those that are wanting to raise money, anybody wanting to raise money for deals? Is there anybody interested in that? Okay. So with that being said, this is where we spend a lot of time talking, and there's a lot of practice sessions that come along. In this program, the group that is associated with this will become very, very tight knit, and you most likely will build relationships amongst your fellow peers, probably for life, because it becomes very, very, you guys are very, very closely connected. So with that being said, we talk about the foundations of joint venturing, the pros and cons that come along with this. We talk about securities commission. We got to be honest about that and really look at that. And more importantly is, how do you protect yourself when it comes to securities commission? For some of those that don't know about that, there are rules and regulations that you need to understand when you're raising capital. So we definitely go over that, and it's an important piece throughout the entire course of things that we want to protect yourself. So the other thing that we talk about, and you probably see a lot of this online, and you see people pitching deals. Anybody see pitching deals like on Facebook? Hey, I've got an opportunity for 30% return on your investment. Everybody's got a different perspective on these things, but for me, you're opening yourself up to securities commission. So one of the things that we teach is not to do that. Instead, have people have money attracting, coming to you, just being, you literally are attracting money versus posting a deal. I don't like seeing students post deals. In fact, when I see that, I crack the whip and have that discussion with them and say, guys, don't you remember? But there's better ways to do that, and we teach you how to do that. It's not pitching deals, it's attracting money. So people will say, hey, Brian, you know what? I've been watching you. Can we have a discussion? Because I might be interested in investing. I think that would be a pretty cool thing to have, right? People picking up the phone and just saying, I'm interested. That's what we spend time talking about. That's the way we teach it, is how to attract money, not pitching deals. Okay. And that's what we talk a lot about. Marketing strategies. So how to present yourself, how to market yourself. And again, looking at some of the different tools and techniques in regards to how to market yourself, protect yourself as well from the Securities Commission, but more importantly is just really presenting yourself as a professional investor. How to screen your joint venture partners for compatibility. A lot of people will just say, hey, listen, I just need $100,000. That's all I'm looking for, right? And so they'll just bring in anybody just because it's $100,000. That doesn't mean it's the right fit for you. And so the important part that we talk about is you need to interview it. It's kind of flip the script and highlight, I need to hear more about you to see if you're a right fit for me. So it's almost like an interview, right? You are interviewing them to see if they have the right to work for you. Does that make sense? It's a total reverse psychology approach to this thing, but we definitely talk about it. It's much more important that you find the right fit, because you're going to be married for these people for 4 or 5 years. And if it's not the right fit, trust me, you don't want to do it. How do I know? Okay. I've learned from my experiences as well. Okay. And you'll be learning that. Joint venture structures, you get a copy of letter of intent, joint venture agreements. This is stuff that we spent, thousands of dollars in regards to helping support you guys. Financing and protect your interest, how the banks look at joint venture partners and how to best present. Ensuring everyone's interests are better locked. Managing your real estate business. It's great to raise money. It's great to have people investing in you. It's awesome. But now you've got a commitment that you've got in place. And with that being said, with that commitment, there's responsibilities. So presenting, quarterly reviews, semi-annual reviews. What are the documentation? How do you present it appropriately? How to be the financial manager and do it very, very well. Now, the best part about this, very similar at the very end and 10 weeks later, is within starting, I think it's week 3, you will start practicing your pitch, and based on a script that we tend to share. And you will be practicing it from week 3 all the way to week 10. Your first presentation, I don't care how good you are or think you are, the reality is it's going to suck really bad. And truthfully is that first one is going to be not so great, but by the very, very end, it'll be just an eye-opening experience of how much you're going to improve. The other thing that's taught very differently in this course than it is in other programs is I actually teach you the business of joint venture, of raising capital through joint venture. And it is a lucrative business, and we'll be touching base on this. And so for those that are looking to really scale and grow, but they just don't necessarily know how to do it, this is a truly lucrative business if you understand all the parameters in there. There's some different ways that we reference this. We don't talk 50-50 split, which is going to be different than maybe a lot of you have heard. You'll be hearing different ways of splits and acquisition disposition fees and management costs and how to build this in and how to properly present it. So like I said, once you understand how to raise capital in this particular deal, or learn how to raise capital, you can fund not only real estate, but also any other venture that you want. And again, it's important that we talk a lot about raising capital and again, referrals and using those same individuals to rinse and repeat. But at the same time, I want to be able to raise money to grow my business. Really, really important. Okay. Now, during the whole program, there is lots of practice within the classes. So you'll be presenting amongst each other. And at the very end, it's kind of like a final exam. Let's see how they do. And so there's lots of objections that are going to be thrown at people, and there's going to be some really mean situations that people are going to overcome. But that's what we learned through the entire 10 weeks of the joint venturing course. Okay, so talking about joint venture prospect database, so we'll provide that for you, marketing tracker template in regards to how to market yourself and continue to market yourself. We'll provide a new client package, which I'll share with you guys as well. Investor questionnaire. This is a big one, a really, really big one in regards to how to properly present. You'll get a copy of our joint venture presentation, letter of intent. Once you've got your individuals secured, how to present your deals to your secured money partners. So you'll get an awesome template that we use that you can now start to pitch your deals to your confirmed joint venture partners. Okay, you'll get a second joint venture agreement, you get a joint venture agreement that we provide you. It's a legal document. We not only just get one, you get 2, and then also some quarterly review templates when meeting partners. Okay, so that's joint venturing. Now, the biggest one that we see is this multifamily course, and this is the most popular one. Even though today is launch day of this program, this course is actually almost, I think it's 80% sold out already. Okay, 80%. Joint venturing, I think, is at 70%. So it's already picking up very quick. Okay, so when it comes to multifamily investing, for those that are in the residential world, they understand, okay, the residential world, and they wear the residential hat when they're investing. When you come into multifamily, you literally need to take the residential investing hat off, go put it in the garbage, and then put your multifamily hat on, because it is completely different in the way you understand this investing world. Even though the reality is you are still investing in a property and it has tenants, the way that this thing is being managed, the way it's being purchased, has much more of a relationship to like a business or a coffee shop or a donut shop or whatever than it does a small little residential property. Okay, so again, very similar in the multifamily world, we do the same exact thing as residential. So you will pick an investment town, you will be doing due diligence on an investment town, specifically on multifamily. So you're going to be looking at clear objectives, have clarity to target capital. Now, here in the game called multifamily investing, you need a lot of this. So for those that don't have a lot of this, you may need to raise money to do this. So as long as you have confidence to do that, so be it. Identifying key markets in specific areas, the pros and cons of the multifamily world. Now, also in multifamily, you may have a fantastic residential realtor. That's not going to work in multifamily. You need to build a whole new investment team, and you need to find out who those individuals are going to be, and the right people as well. It's a smaller group of individuals in this arena that you need to make sure you find the right ones. Corporate structure, avoiding risks and minimizing taxes, setting up the structure using joint venture partnerships, building your strong real estate investment team, The fun part on this one is analyzing multifamily. This is fun. You know, how to calculate cap rates, multipliers, income strategy. You also be talking operating expense ratios as well. So you learn kind of all the ins and outs in regards to how to properly calculate that this property makes fundamental sense. Now, when you're looking at a residential deal and the way you look at a multifamily deal are very different when you're looking at comparables as well. So the important part is, how do you determine if this is a good market value for this property, yes or no? And we're going to go over that with a fine-tooth comb so you understand before you jump in. You have complete visibility to the numbers, and very similar to what we had in residential, you're going to learn very quickly how to properly negotiate that. Like I said, I'm a cheap guy to begin with. So, you know, making the offer, how to present the deal, ensure minimizing risk. That's a big one, because you know what? If you make some mistakes in this game, we're not talking the simple $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 that you might get in a residential side. It could be tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. If you didn't check your roof in that building and you're like, oh, well, surprise, the roof needs to be done. That could be $60,000, $70,000, $100,000, folks. So you know what? How do we minimize the risk? It's exactly what we talked about right from the beginning. Is like, how do I minimize the risk to avoid that whole situation of fear, right? That's the key. And that's what we spend a lot of time on. Financing your deals, a nightmare. And so we talk a lot about this, is how to get your financing approved in the commercial world, having clarity to financing with CMHC, private lending, vendor takebacks, conventional financing. So we talk a lot about this in funding your multifamily deal, closing the deal, and understanding closing costs and budgets and all of that stuff. And last but not least, this is actually one of the most important ones, is actually managing your business, because it is all about net operating income, big time. That's all it is. And if you can continue to increase it, you increase the value of your building. Just so everybody's aware, for every dollar you increase in net operating income in multifamily, you've increased the value of your apartment building by between $12 to $20. For every dollar you increase net operating income, you increase the value of your apartment building. So all you're trying to do, raise rents, reduce expenses, increase the net operating income so you can increase the value. And this works great in flat markets, appreciating markets. And here's the funny part, even in depreciating markets, there's so much money that can be made in different ways in multifamily that is so much different than residential. And this is why it's becoming such a real popular option. But the key is you need to make sure that you have the capital to do this as well. Okay. So with that being said, the supporting documents here, due diligence documents, property analysis tools, cap rate calculators, comparable analysis template. This is absolutely huge. This is like really, really big for your negotiations. Property purchase agreements, seller financing agreements, acquisition trackers, due diligence analysis, financing pro forma tools, property financials. So one last thing I want to share about multifamily is individuals that own multifamily properties already. They are, I hate to say this, more often than not, the owners of these properties more often than not are pretty sophisticated, or they're more sophisticated, I should say. And unfortunately, for those that are getting started and don't have this knowledge in multifamily and still have that residential mindset, their knowledge is going to be here. So the multifamily person that owns these properties right now really are just a little bit more sophisticated than what this residential side is. And what we teach in this course is to make sure that we're leveling the playing field, so you guys are all talking exactly the same language. And my goal is, even if you haven't owned an investment property, my goal is to make our students more sophisticated than the seller, so they can present appropriately to the seller and even the selling agent. So these are the tools that we try to provide you to make you more sophisticated than what even the selling agent is. But if that's not even the case, at least you guys are all in the same playing field, talking the same language, and you're not in this position where you really don't understand it, which will be an absolute hindrance and possibly very painful for you if you're going to go down this road. That's what this course is about. It's making sure you understand multifamily and you do this well. Okay. So to get right into the nuts and bolts of the course itself, here are the costs, here are the prices. And this will be the last time these prices are going to be in place, because by next year, they will be going up in 2022. But the way we've got this set up is the fundamentals to residential real estate investing starts November 4th. So that's coming up very shortly. Raising capital through joint venture partnership starts January 6th. And then the multifamily course starts March the 7th. The reason why it's done in this format is it's done in sequential order. So boom, boom, boom. So for those that are interested in wanting to take all three, we'd be working together literally for the next 6 months. Okay. So again, this course is 8 weeks long. This is 10 weeks long, and this is 8 weeks long. So you're going to be seeing this ugly mug for a very, very long time, but at least you'll have a few laughs as we go along with it. Okay. So regular prices, these are kind of what the prices are for everybody that's on Savvy, which is all of you here as well. If you are just interested in taking one of the classes, the cost is $2,895. If you are taking more than one class, we drop that price to $2,750. So the total course for 2 programs is $5,500. And understand it's expensive. It's not cheap either, right? And so we want to make it as palatable as we can. So we break this up into 3 payments for you. And that's done every 3 weeks, okay? And then we've got some options for those that are interested as well. That, say, for example, the raising capital side, for those that are wanting to take both of these, we would give them access to the recorded training in advance. So we have a previous recorded training class that you can get access to before the course actually starts. So it reinforces a lot of the stuff. And the same thing goes with multifamily as well. Okay. With that being said, if you are looking for the full package, we drop it again to $2,500. So it's $7,500. And then we break it up in increments of 4 payments in this setting here as well. Okay. So those are the dates. Those are the costs associated with this. And like I said, there are some significant differences between our programs and others, and I'm not knocking anybody else's. They do what they do. We just do things maybe a little bit differently. You've probably seen some courses and programs that just do it over a weekend. The reality is that I'm not sure if anybody's ever been through this situation before. Anybody ever go through a weekend course and it's just like it's just so much to absorb. I can put my hand up really high twice, like over and over again. It's not that it's bad, but the reality is the absorption rate is just it's so little. And so this is the reason why we stretch this out for 8 to 10 weeks. So every week we break it down. There's a little bit of homework. So your hands are getting dirty. And I'm a big believer in getting your hands dirty to learn. That's the reality. I learned that way. And so by forcing you guys to do this, you guys are going to learn so much more effectively. We stretch it out. We have enough time with each other. More importantly, is you're getting your hands dirty in the process to learn. And more importantly is you do get that one-on-one guidance. So even in between the classes are really small. We only take 10 to 12, 14 students max, right? Just depending on the size. Multi might take a little bit more, but that we keep them very small settings. So I have the opportunity and time to spend with my students. If you've got questions or any of those things, that I can make sure that I have the time to answer those questions on your behalf. You guys will be getting real investment tools. Like this is the stuff that our company uses. You guys are getting access. You're going to get access to my real estate investment team, but you're going to actually do and source your investment teams as well. And you're going to bring this back and determine if it's a good person to be working with, yes or no. After program support, some of these individuals charge you 10 grand. Probably seen some of this stuff for mentors and stuff like that. I want to be really clear. If any of my students are buying their very first residential property or first multifamily property, I am expecting, I would be disappointed if I didn't, a phone call, okay, to review the numbers with them, okay? And if they need some help, I want you guys to be successful. I am not here to charge you a significant, crazy amount of money. I want my students to take this course, take whatever program they are, and I want to make sure they get a good return on their investment. Period. Okay. So if you need the help, I will always be available for my students for that support if they ever need it. But the one thing that I do push my students is I ask them and I tell them, I'm like, listen, pitch me the deal. I want to know why this is a good deal based on the stuff that you've learned. And then I will work with you to make sure that what you see is exactly what I see as well. Okay. Access to real investment deals. Absolutely. It's not my deals. These are actually opportunities you are going to bring. You are going to bring this to the table. You're looking at real stuff, not an old document, an old deal that happened 45 years ago. No, you're going to be looking at deals today, like real deals. If you're serious, this is what we're doing. Small students, smart classes, really, really important. Program price, you probably have seen this, some of you guys, $8,000 plus. I've seen some crazy stuff, to be honest with you. I think ours is pretty affordable, to be really honest. Okay. So testimonials, and we've got tons of them. I can be here all day, but you've probably seen images like this where our students have had graduation and certificates and stuff like that. But we've had a lot of really positive feedback from our courses. And, if you ever go back on Savvy, don't ever hesitate to reach out to any of the students that were there. We're right in the middle of multifamily right now, just wrapping that course up in the next few weeks. But the reality is this is great. This is all fine and dandy and stuff like that in regards to testimonials. But from my perspective, the proof is always in the pudding. And so truthfully is we have such confidence in our courses and our programs that we do offer a money back guarantee. If you don't make at least your tuition back on your first deal, I don't even care if you take all 3 programs, and that's the truth. If you don't make all of your money back on your very first deal, I will give you your money back. Okay. So in the last 15 years of doing this, I have never had to give people their money back because they have all made money on their first deal based on following the principles that have been taught. Okay. So when you really kind of think about this, if you guys are really, really serious and maybe scaling or actually starting, it's like getting your course for free. Okay. If you utilize the tools into what you're trying to accomplish, there's absolutely no way you'll not at least make your money back. Okay. It'd be very, very difficult for that to actually not happen. Okay. So again, this is the information. These are the courses. These are the dates that are associated with this. And like I said, we will be starting this very, very soon. I'm going to be honest, both raising capital and multifamily will most likely be sold out probably by the end of the day. I'm going to be expecting the fundamentals to residential real estate. I think we're about 40% full, 30 or 40% full right now. But today is launch day. You guys are getting the first crack at this. Okay, first crack at this. And so you guys get a chance to see it. And better yet, you guys also, because you are here, get a chance to even win one of these. And so that's probably partially why some of you are here today. Good for you. I would be here too. But the reality is, if you do commit to wanting to sign up and register and you do win, we obviously will make sure that you get it for free. Okay. So with that being said, registration is actually officially opened on our Facebook page right now. Okay. So if you go to our Facebook page and if you are serious about this, I highly recommend that you complete that registration right away. And I want to be very, very clear. This registration is a little bit different too. Is just because you've registered for the course, you will not be paying for the course just yet. Because I do want to have one-on-one discussions with my students first and foremost to make sure that we are registering you for the right courses. So I want to be very clear. More often than not, which sounds really strange, I actually, some people will say I need all the courses until I start to talk with them, and then I start to wean them down. So I actually start to discourage them from some of the courses, which sounds really strange. So honestly, like I said, I want to make sure that we are putting you in the right programs. I want students that are extremely serious and really wanting to really scale their business or even get started. And again, it's about finding the right fit for you when it comes to your program, fitting the right fit for you in regards to where you are in your career path. Okay. So with that being said, that's the program. Those are the details. And I am open to any questions that anybody might have at this point in time. I don't know if anybody's got any questions at this stage. So if you got him, please raise your hand or just even unmute yourself and just shout away. Andy, you had a question? I'm sorry, I thought I saw a hand raised.
Yep, I rose my hand. So you mentioned there's 3 hours a week. Do you have the actual session dates and times locked down?
Yes, great question. It will be starting, usually it's every Thursday at 4 p.m. Okay. Pacific
PST?
Standard. PST.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we had to do that because we had a lot of people from far East Coast. And I've actually had students from Australia and China, which was like, how do you manage all of this? Now, the other part that I want to be very clear to is, guess what? 6 months, trying to commit to me for 6 months or 5 months or whatever the situation is a commitment, and life gets in the way. Okay. Especially if you got kids. I get it. You know what? It does. Every session is recorded, just so everybody's aware. So if by chance you need to miss a class, that's okay. The only thing that I say is just let me know in advance that you are missing it. So once you complete that class, I will literally set up a one-on-one call with you to make sure all your questions get answered. Okay. So that's the reason, again, the classes are designed to be small to begin with, So you have enough, so I have enough time to work with students. And trust me, like I said, I know life gets in the way. That's why the recessions are recorded for everybody's flexibility. Okay, great question.
So it's Thursdays for 3 hours. It's
Yes.
not like split between 2 days a week, an hour and a half. Okay.
Straight 3 hours. We suck it up. I only give you 5-minute break. I'm just joking. But the reality is, does it go longer sometimes? It does, especially when we have a lot of this kind of going on, a lot of questions and engagement. You know, like I said, I really have we have a lot of fun in our courses. I'm like, you know what, if you want to have a glass of wine and learn, fill your boots, right? And, you know, like, no harm done. I just wish you would pour me a glass as well. But the reality is we do have a lot of fun in our courses and classes, but the important part is that the learning is there, and that's really, really key. Okay, so great question, Mandy. Thank you. Any other questions? You can open up your mics.
Hey, Michael.
Hey, Brian.
Good job, and you answered a lot of my questions. So, but the one I had about the recordings, how long are the sessions available for, or do we always have access to the course material, the program, after, you know, the course is done?
How's Forever sound?
Sounds pretty good to me.
You guys paid for it, right?
Good answer.
Right.
Thank you.
And you guys paid for the course, and I think you should have access to it whenever you need it. And you know what? There's a lot of students that do exactly that. They take the course and they're just like, oh, what the hell did Mike say? Or, you know, what did Mandy say? That was a really good comment in that class that I forgot that she said, and I want to revisit that. You guys have paid for the course. You deserve to make sure you have access to it, period. Okay. Mandy, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I'm full of questions.
Ask.
How often do you run these programs? Like, if for some reason schedule timing didn't work for this season, do you run them regularly? And are they
run? Yeah, they run every 6 months, or sorry, this is done twice a year. Okay. And I've had students in the situation where they have taken, some of them have taken the entire thing. But all of a sudden, something's happened personally or whatever the circumstance is. And they're like, Mike, I'm dealing with something, or something happens. Can I get scheduled for the next multifamily? Then we just automatically, their spot gets automatically reserved right away to the next one immediately, right? And that's the thing is with this one, with both of these courses, both the Raising Capital, these ones will sell up. Like, we just launched, but we've had people already registering just in advance. They're like, I want this, I just want to register. They've already done it. They've already registered for it in advance. So the biggest problem that we tend to face, to be really honest with you, is that they get too filled up. But I'm not willing to admit, I'm not willing to change the way our format is for learning, because technically, you know, Mandy, like, honestly, I could probably take 50 students, you know, honestly, and make a lot more money, like truly make a lot more money. But I really wouldn't be doing a great service to my students at all, because I just wouldn't have the time. And so with that being said, if by chance you take some of the programs and something happens and you need to change it or adjust it, then please go ahead and we can reschedule you for the next go around, right? So that's the thing that we can commit to. So it's done twice a year, these 3 programs, that's it. And again, we do this systematically because people want to grow, and we do keep it live, right? And the live is really where all the real great learning and stuff tends to happen, right? So
great, thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay. Any other questions? I'm just going to stop sharing because I know I had some other individuals joining us here. I want to make sure I've captured everybody's names to be part. Kathy, I didn't take you, so I want to make sure I got you as well. So Kathy B. Okay. Any other questions? If not, we'll wrap it up for the evening. So, or for the morning. Geez, I'm already losing track of days already. My goodness. Okay. So I am just going to stop the recording here. And